The Cowboys training camp has erupted with a flurry of headlines, and there's barely enough room to pack it all into one video. From injury concerns to returning veterans, impressive rookie flashes, and standout quarterback performances, the storylines are unfolding fast. Let's start with a key figure on the offensive line, Tyler Smith. Smith left practice with what Jerry Jones described as knee tendonitis. While Clarence Hill reported it's not considered serious and is more of a precautionary move, the sight of Smith walking off during team drills and heading to the locker room raises eyebrows. Yes, he told John Machota he was straight, but the reality is this offensive line can't afford injuries, not even minor ones. The unit already feels fragile, and every snap missed by a starter like Smith draws concern. The Cowboys' offensive line depth is being tested early, and often Tyler Guyton will miss 4 to 6 weeks. Robert Jones is out 2 to 3 months. Matt Waletzko has an ankle issue. Heikki Madaniji is in concussion protocol. And now Tyler Smith has a knee flare-up. That's a lot. You're left staring at a preseason lineup potentially held together by Nathan Thomas, Tia, Jay, Boss, Brock Hoffman, Simi Shepley, and Sadiq Charles. Not exactly ideal when you're trying to protect Dak Prescott and build rhythm for the offense. The team suddenly looks like it went from having depth to scrambling to find healthy bodies. And maybe that's why, perhaps out of necessity, the Cowboys are bringing back a familiar name. Again. Yes, La'el Collins is working out for the Cowboys. Again. The 32-year-old veteran is now in line for his third potential stint with the franchise. It's almost surreal. They signed him as a prized, undrafted free agent, cut him after a disagreement over hip rehab, watched him get picked up by the Bengals where injuries piled up, briefly brought him back during the 2023 campaign, and now he's back on the radar. It would almost be funny if it weren't so serious. This feels more like an emergency move than a long-term fix, a big-name band-aid for a battered unit. And while fans know his name, La'el hasn't played a real NFL snap since 2022. That's a big red flag. He didn't make the Bills' active roster and hasn't shown he can be a reliable contributor since his early days in Dallas. Still, given the circumstances and O-line held together with tape and prayers, it makes sense why Dallas is kicking the tires. But don't be surprised if they also work out lesser-known linemen who could fill a preseason role. You just need healthy bodies to survive camp at this point. Between the injuries, rehab setbacks, and roster churn, the offensive line situation is turning into a front office juggling act. Now, speaking of setbacks, the Cowboys received a disheartening update on rookie cornerback Shavon Revel. According to his father, the recovery timeline is now pushed back another 6 to 8 weeks. This isn't just precaution anymore. It's a setback, plain and simple. Nick Harris confirmed the report, explaining that Revel has hit a few bumps during rehab, and the Cowboys are choosing the cautious route. That means no week 1. In fact, being placed on the NFI list could mean Revel misses the first 4 games entirely. That's a major disappointment for a player who had a shot to contribute early. And with depth at cornerback still a concern, losing him for any chunk of time only tightens the pressure. You're now looking at needing someone else to step up in a big way. Frankly, there's no way to spin this as anything other than a bad break. Thankfully, not all the news out of camp is bleak. In fact, Dak Prescott appears to be heating up at exactly the right time. By all accounts, he had his best day of training camp so far dialed in, sharp, and in total command. He shredded the Cowboys' defense with a flurry of touchdowns during team drills, red zone sets, and move the ball periods. This wasn't just a case of stat padding during one-on-ones either. Prescott hit George Pickens 3 times for scores, connected with CeeDee Lamb and Jonathan Mingo, and even unleashed a perfect deep ball to Kevontae Turpin. Dak is starting to stack solid practices, a sign that his timing and chemistry with this revamped receiving core is clicking. And it's not just the first string offense showing life. Rookie quarterback Joe Milton also had himself a day. While there were a few plays that may have resulted in sacks under game conditions, Milton still tossed several touchdowns, showing improved decision-making and better pocket awareness. He connected with standout receiver Tyrone Tan Holden twice, one of which was a spectacular crossfield route where Holden simply outran everyone. Holden is starting to separate himself from the pack with explosive plays, while fellow WR Jalen Cropper continues to earn trust and reps. These two are emerging as potential dark horses for the final roster, or, at the very least, prime candidates for the practice squad. With Miles Sanders sidelined due to a knee issue, running back Jaden Blue has seized the opportunity. Blue has been earning trust from both coaches and quarterback Dak Prescott, making the most of his extra reps. He's looked sharp, decisive, and continues to show why the staff is intrigued by his potential. Blue's emergence adds another wrinkle to an already unclear backfield rotation. Meanwhile, fullback Hunter Luepke also made the most of his snaps with several tough runs and catches, reminding the coaches that he's still in the mix. The injuries may be frustrating, but they're giving some of these young players a chance to shine, and they're capitalizing. Every summer, there's always a receiver or two that catches the fans' imagination. We've had the Andy Jones hype, the Rico Gathers preseason phenomenon, and now Holden and Cropper are building their case. Whether they make the 53-man roster or land on the practice squad, they're giving the Cowboys something to think about. And that's what camp is all about: survive the injuries, stack positive days, and let the competition shape the depth chart. The situation surrounding the Cowboys' offensive line is getting more serious by the day, and it's no longer just about a few minor bumps and bruises. Between Tyler Smith's precautionary exit due to knee tendonitis and a growing list of sidelined linemen, Dallas is suddenly navigating a depth crisis in the trenches. While Jerry Jones downplayed the situation, calling it minor, and Tyler himself walked off under his own power saying he was straight, the fact remains he left practice. And in the NFL, that's rarely meaningless. Add in that Robert Jones is out 2 to 3 months. Tyler Guyton is shelved for 4 to 6 weeks. Matt Waletzko's ankle status is uncertain. Hakeem Adeniji is dealing with a concussion, and suddenly, what was once viewed as solid depth is unraveling before our eyes. That's likely what sparked the upcoming workout with old friend La'el Collins, who is set to potentially begin his third stint in Dallas. At 32, and not having played meaningful football since 2022, Collins is a recognizable name but not necessarily a solution. Yet with preseason reps needing bodies, his presence may simply be a bandage, albeit one with a rich history in Dallas. This speaks more to desperation than strategy, and while fans can debate if La'el's return would be productive or nostalgic, the reality is that the Cowboys can't afford more injuries, especially up front, if they want this offense to reach its full potential.